And I can elaborate upon that it's not something cheap, it's not a show, it's manifest, love of Krishna is manifest as a dedication to serving Krishna without any personal motive. I often recommend, actually I always recommend, sometimes I verbally say it, but it's a standing instruction that you read these books, understand the topics also, and if you read in those books, then you'll get this understanding, what pure devotional service is, that we're meant only for surrendering to Krishna. I again and again amazed at Srila Prabhupada's message, how it's so far above anything that anyone has ever given, at least in the Western world. There's no such conception. So far above that of the ordinary people who are living their mundane existence. It's a great gift. We should take advantage of it. Also by reading Srila Prabhupada's books and hearing his conversations and lectures, we can understand the practical manifestation of that. Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish Varnashram with farm communities, simple living and high thinking, Gurukul. So I am very pleased with the devotees who are doing that. In many ways it's different to what we've understood the main thrust of the movement to be all these years. The main thrust of this movement we see as preaching, distributing books, building temples, bringing people in, bringing them up to the stage of initiation, and hopefully further also. Preaching movement. The Varnashram mission doesn't seem to be so much preaching. It is preaching in a very important way, that it demonstrates everything, it's meant to demonstrate everything which is given in the books, and which gives everyone the opportunity to live a life of Krishna consciousness, which the hellish cities, of course one can also practice Krishna consciousness within the hellish cities, but for most people the constraints of working and then the association with non-devotees, including in many cases their family members, it's a great impediment to the natural progress of advancement in Krishna consciousness. So these communities are supposed to demonstrate how people can live simply and happily with Krishna in the center of their life, and set an example to others that people can see that they can live fully Krishna conscious by living like this. So it's also preaching, but in a very different kind of way. It's setting up communities whereby people swakaramana tamabhyacha siddhing vindati manavaha, communities by which people can serve Krishna by their work very directly, not so indirectly as if you're working in some factory, for instance. Of course, if one's mentality is fully, I'm working in this factory, but all the proceeds I'm using for Krishna's service, maintain a family and Krishna consciousness, it's also possible. But if one is living in a community where all the devotees are cooperating, whatever they produce, it's the factual manifestation of yad karoshi, yad ashnasi, yad juhoshi, tadasi, yad tapasyasi, kaunteya, tat kurushva, madarpanam. Everything we do, everything we eat, everything, austerities we perform, everything is done simply as an offering to Krishna. So it's in many ways very different. Srila Prabhupada also said that the next phase of the movement, the Varnashram communities, would be very different in many ways. There not so much emphasis on going out and doing book distribution, not so much emphasis on going anywhere. Just stay where you are. Sthane sthita. You get in a proper position, you just stay. You don't need to run here and there. Of course, it's not that devotees on farm communities can't go out and distribute books, but their main focus is on developing the community itself. So I am of course very pleased with all the devotees who are serving Srila Prabhupada's mission in various ways, distributing books in the cities, helping others come to Krishna consciousness in the cities, those who have taken great risk to establish the farm community is great risk, especially for the grihastas, risk in as much as they don't know if it's going to work. Mostly everyone all around themselves, no, it's not going to work. When they first went, they didn't know how we're going to do farming, they had no experience. Gradually they're learning. Dadami buddhi yogam tam, Krishna gives intelligence. So they've taken a lot of trouble, a lot of risk, with faith in the words of Srila Prabhupada, and I'm pleased. And we want to develop this more and more and more. That is a great service to Srila Prabhupada and all the previous acharyas, their mission, which we should increase more and more and more and more. Part of my being a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, of course, is Ebe Josh Kushak Tribhuvan. We're meant to glorify Srila Prabhupada. That can be done by serving his mission, developing his mission, ourselves being very good representatives of Srila Prabhupada, by distributing his books, and also grace of modern technology. There are now available so many, all the collected, all the known audio and video recordings of Srila Prabhupada. All the known ones means it's not very likely there'll be more in future. So that is a great treasure that we can, a great resource which we can all utilize for becoming Krishna conscious. Madhav Prabhu, one of your godbrothers, one of my disciples, has very enthusiastically taken up this service of making that available in English. Most of it's in English. There are a few lectures in Hindi and Bengali. He's also getting the lectures translated into Hindi, and in South India, Krishnadas Prabhu is doing that in Tamil, and that requires to be done in all the languages so that all devotees can avail of this. So those various recordings are available. Madhav Prabhu has a stall outside here. Varnashram, we want real brahmacharis. In the modern age, to have a brahmachari, it might seem almost impossible, because the whole atmosphere is saturated with sexual vibrations. Even to have a real grihasta might seem almost impossible. To live peacefully, husband and wife together, that in itself, that might seem like the most almost impossible nowadays. It seems like that. It's become such a bad situation here in India also. But that Varnashram is to demonstrate that. Vanaprastha, the older devotees, they need not work all their life. They can retire at the age of 50, Srila Prabhupada said, and dedicate fully to Krishna consciousness. Sannyasis, in all the ashrams, and Stri Dharma, women who are content to serve according to the prescriptions of Sri Dharma. They can also, it's not that everyone has to jump up and sit on a big stage like I'm sitting on a big stage right now and show themselves, but according to the position, sthane sthita, that we have received, we may serve Krishna. And that's also a great challenge in the modern age with so much propaganda that people should drink alcohol and eat meat, and with this Madhur Gauranga, I was speaking to him a few days ago, who's from a village near Dharwad in North Karnataka. He told me that as a child, he's 30-something years old, there was maybe one meat shop in the whole town, probably in the Muslim quarter. Now everywhere. It's difficult to find any restaurant or anywhere. It's here in Gujarat also. When I first came, there was hardly anything. Meat, nothing. But the eggs are everywhere. And meat, everything. Here in Somnath you'll smell the smell of fish. It's the major economy here is the temple, but there's also fishing. In Veraval, you'll see fishing boats are being built. This is demoniac, but it's all around us. So to live a pure life is very difficult in the modern age, and those who do so, those who are even trying to do so, they're all glorious. You're all glorious. Those who are weak, even, we're all weak, but anyone who's trying is glorious. But we want, for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada and for the uplift of human society, to demonstrate how people can live aloof from this demoniac society, rejecting the values or lack of values or perverse values of this demoniac society, happy to live very simply serving Krishna, being Krishna conscious. So there are many things to be done that can be pleasing. Srila Prabhupada himself was the personification of preaching Krishna consciousness. He was fully dedicated to that. So preaching in various ways. Srila Prabhupada's preaching was not only to bring people into Krishna consciousness, which nowadays in India it's relatively easy to bring people to Krishna consciousness. In the 1970s when Srila Prabhupada was preaching in India, it wasn't. There weren't many Indian people joining Prabhupada's movement seriously. Now the situation has changed due to so much preaching by Srila Prabhupada and his followers and the distribution of his books. And it is relative, I'm not saying it's easy to bring anyone into devotional service, but relatively easy. But that's not all of distributing books, building temples, and bringing people in, making people devotees. We say making devotees. It's a bit of a wrong term. Bringing people into devotional service. That's not all that preaching entails. There's also smashing all the wrong ideas. Srila Prabhupada was very concerned to oppose Mayavad, Shunyavad, demoniac scientism, all these wrong ideas. So preaching doesn't mean just to find the pious people and bring them into Krishna consciousness. It also means to challenge the demoniac theories of the impious people. So that's a major part of our preaching, especially scientific and Mayavadis. Srila Prabhupada very much wanted to defeat all that. So if you take that up, that's also pleasing to me. Also, when Srila Prabhupada is personally present, the world was divided. All the Kali Yuga means people are divided against each other. So the major political division was capitalist versus communist. Now it's reshaping as the Western world in general versus Islamism, as they call it. And Islamism, as they call it, is seen as the great threat to the Western civilization. Actually, it should be that Krishna consciousness is the great threat. Not that we're going to bomb people or blow them up, but Srila Prabhupada noted that when he was the Krishna consciousness movement was spreading so dynamically that some people in the West thought it was a threat to their civilization, but it's a benevolent threat. So just communism, Srila Prabhupada, he said that if we distribute my books in Russia, in the USSR, then the communism will be undermined. And actually that was done. It was practically impossible to distribute those books in the USSR. But it was done. And communism collapsed. So we should also be very concerned to preach not only to the pious people who will take up Krishna consciousness very easily, but also to Muslims. Give them Prabhupada's books, preach to them. Don't only seek out the easy targets. If that can be done, that will be very, very pleasing to Srila Prabhupada. This Muslim Devotees of Krishna has been written by Damodar Nityananda Prabhu. You can read that. It's an indirect way of giving the idea that, well, people from Muslim backgrounds, they can also take to the pure life of Krishna consciousness. Although Islamism, as it's called, is often seen as a threat, but we shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking that everyone who's happened to be born in a Muslim family or who is some kind of monster, or there's so many very pious people, which Srila Prabhupada himself said. Srila Prabhupada once, after resting, he said, I had a dream that I saw the planet where all the pious Muslims go to. He said this to Hari Shari Prabhu, his servant. Hari Shari Prabhu, he recounted that he couldn't quite understand this, because first of all he wondered if there is such a thing as a pious Muslim, and then he wondered, is there a planet? And he asked Prabhupada, he said, oh yes, Prabhupada said. So it's not that that we should not think that. If we think that, then if we think they're all hopeless, and then how can we extend the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to them? So that's Muslim preaching, village preaching, padayatras. I've said all this before. In fact, I say this every year, but let's say it again and again and again. These things are all very pleasing to me. The essence is, if you are sincere in devotional service, that will be very pleasing to me, pleasing to Krishna, pleasing to everyone, pleasing to the whole world, and also help me. I also get encouragement from seeing you. It's not that I'm just some stone or something. I also get encouraged by seeing your sincere activities in devotional service. It's not that everyone has to be a big acharya, whoever you are, whatever situation you're in. If you're sincerely serving, Krishna will be pleased. That story is there of the big monkeys bringing big rocks, throwing them in the ocean to build the bridge over the ocean to go to Lanka. And the squirrel was there also, whose activities seem to be insignificant. What is pushing the sand into the ocean? How is that going to help? It seems like a laughing stock. But Lord Rama accepted that also, because he didn't need the monkeys to throw the big rocks either. They thought we're doing the real service, this squirrel is not doing it, it's ridiculous. But Lord Rama, he didn't need the monkeys to do the service, but he accepted their service. So not everyone's going to be a big acharya, but anyone who serves sincerely, that will be appreciated by Krishna. So if you can't be a monkey serving in a big way, then at least be a squirrel, but do something. Don't be inactive. Do something to try to serve Srila Prabhupada's mission. On a personal note, I'm very happy also to see that some devotees are coming from the West and learning Indian languages and preaching. It's very effective in preaching. Srila Prabhupada wanted this, so there are a few of you who are doing that. Actually, Radhesh Prabhu, we should have some slot, few minutes at least, for our Govinda Datta to show his, or to demonstrate his. So maybe all the devotees know, but maybe some don't know, and it's pride for me. As a father becomes proud, the children are doing so well. So many people say, well, they used to say, my son is studying in America, but now everyone's son is studying in America, so it's not such a big thing, but it used to be said like that. So it's something I'm very pleased with. And Indians, well, you don't have that opportunity, unless you want to paint yourself white or something. But that's a special opportunity for those with a white body to preach. It has a very great effect, because Indians, up to the present time, have this ridiculous idea that everything and everyone from the West is superior. So that's another thing, to preach the actual glories of this holy land of India. The actual glories are not the nuclear missiles and the Tata company owns, and different company, Mittal and Tata, they've bought some businesses in the West. That's not the glory of India. The glory of India is our great culture, so that we want to emphasize also. So, Priya Govinda Prabhu, you ready? Okay, so now the Gurukul boys from Telangana are going to recite Kunti Stotram. We have 2 Gurukuls running on. The one in Salem, the boys graduated and some of them went to Gujarat. So these are from, actually not many of the boys are actually from Telangana. They're from UP and Nepal and where else? Some are from Telangana. It's a mixed group. Announcement before that. Why? Can you do it afterwards? Does it have to be right now? Okay, well in the meantime, I'll go and come.